Good morning. It's time in our day for another fasting and feasting devotional. Today we're on day 37, which happens to be a fasting day and is titled the Nazarite Vow. So let's go ahead and see what that's all about today. Numbers 6, verses 3 and 4. He is to abstain from wine and beer. He must not drink vinegar made from wine or from beer. He must not drink any grape juice or eat fresh grapes or raisins. He is not to eat anything produced by the grapevine, from seeds to skin, during the period of his consecration. What do Samson, Samuel, John the Baptist, and Paul hold in common? Well, for one thing, they didn't eat raisins. Numbers 6 outlines the parameters of a commitment the Israelites can voluntarily make called the Nazarite vow. It was a pledge to follow a specific set of restrictions as an expression of a desire to live set apart for the Lord. Read Numbers 6, verses 1 through 21. Adonai said to Moshe, which is Moses, "Tell the people of Israel, when either a man or a woman makes a special kind of vow, the vow of a Netzer, consecrating himself to Adonai, he is to abstain from wine and other intoxicating liquor. He is not to drink vinegar from either source. He is not to drink grape juice, and he is not to eat grapes or raisins." Sorry for the coffee in the background. "As long as he remains a Netzer, he is to eat nothing derived from the grapevine, not even the grape skins or the seeds. Throughout the period of his vow as a Netzer, he is not to shave his head. Until the end of the time for which he has consecrated himself to Adonai, he is to be holy. He is to let the hair on his head grow long. Throughout the period for which he has consecrated himself to Adonai, he is not to approach a corpse. He is not to make himself unclean for his father, mother, brother, or sister when they die, since his consecration to God is on his head. Throughout the time of his being a Netzer, he is holy for Adonai. If someone next to him dies very suddenly so that he defiles his consecrated head, then he is to shave his head on the day of his purification. He is to shave it on the 7th day. On the 8th day, he is to bring 2 doves or 2 young pigeons to the Kohen, which is the priests, at the entrance to the tent of meeting. The Kohen is to, or the Levites, I assume. The Kohen is to prepare one as a sin offering and the other as a burnt offering, and thus make atonement for him, inasmuch as he sinned because of the dead person. That same day he is to reconsecrate his head. He is to consecrate to Adonai the full period of his being a Netzer by bringing a male lamb in its first year as a guilt offering. The previous days will not be counted because his consecration became defiled. This is the law for the Netzer when his period of consecration is over. He is to be brought to the entrance of the tent of meeting, where he will present his offering to Adonai: 1 male lamb in its first year without defect as a burnt offering, 1 female lamb in its first year without defect as a sin offering, 1 ram without defect as peace offerings, a basket of matzah, loaves made of fine flour mixed with olive oil, unleavened wafers spread with olive oil, their grain offering, and their drink offerings. The Kohen is to bring them before Adonai, offer his sin offering, his burnt offering, and his ram as a sacrifice of peace offerings to Adonai, with the basket of matzah. The Kohen will also offer the grain offering and drink offering that go with the peace offering. The Netzer will shave his consecrated head at the entrance to the tent of meeting, take the hair removed from his consecrated head, and put it on the fire under the sacrifice of peace offerings. When the ram has been boiled, the Kohen is to take its shoulder, 1 loaf of matzah from the basket, and 1 unleavened wafer, and place them in the hands of the Netzer after he has shaved his consecrated head. The Kohen is to wave them as a wave offering before Adonai. This is set aside for the Kohen along with the breast for waving and the raised up thigh. Following that, the Netzer may drink wine. This is the law for the Netzer who makes a vow and for his offering to Adonai for his being a Netzer, in addition to anything more for which he has sufficient means. In keeping with whatever vow he makes, he must do it according to the law for the Netzer. Samson took the vow, Judges 16:17, which is why the shavings of his head at the hand of Delilah was such a big, hairy deal. The prophets Samuel and John the Baptist also took the Nazarite vow, 1 Samuel 1 verse 11 and Luke 1 verse 15. The New Testament records that the Apostle Paul took the vow even after his conversion, Acts 18:18. I don't know about you, but I tend to get wrapped up in the long hair part of these verses. Let's look again and take note. Instructions for the Nazarite vow didn't begin with the more peculiar directions about hairdos and dealing with the dead. They started with food. To be crystal clear, this passage is not forbidding wine, beer, vinegar, grape juice, fresh grapes, or raisins for all of God's people all the time. Jesus himself ate and drank many of the items on that list. Once again, we see that when it comes to food, when it comes to everything, God is less concerned with our list of do's and don'ts and more concerned with our devotion. Vow or no vow, to follow Jesus is to live set apart. This is why Scripture pleads. Therefore, brothers and sisters, in view of the mercies of God, I urge you to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true worship. Do not be conformed to this age, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is the good, pleasing, and perfect will of God. Romans 12, verses 1 and 2. The Nazirite vow was given by God in the same spirit as Scripture's call to embrace fasting. It's voluntary. God's never going to make us. The vow was an opportunity to take the initiative to live marked for God's glory. Fasting is an opportunity to take the initiative to live marked for God's glory. Pause and consider. What do the Christ followers you admire most have in common? They may or may not eat raisins, but I am sure of this: they don't try to be like everyone else. Their goal is not to blend in with a world that doesn't recognize Jesus. They live consecrated lives, dedicated to God's glory. That's the heart of the Nazirite vow. That's the heart of fasting. But as the one who called you is holy, you also are to be holy in all your conduct. 1 Peter 1:15. Setting the table, inviting the feast. Use the prayer prompts below to ask the Lord to do an abundant work in your life. Setting the table. Jesus, I want to live set apart for you. Specifically, I know I need to make changes in the area of ... Inviting the feast. Lord, it's so much easier to live like everyone else. Forgive me for wanting to fit in more than I've wanted to live like you call me to. Show me just how joyful and satisfying it is to live only for your glory and purposes. And write down what he says beyond that. That was day 37 of our devotional. I do hope that it blessed you and that you do take time out of your day to write down your answers to those prompts that will also be in the description of the video. And I also hope that you have a good rest of your day and that you will join me again tomorrow morning for day 38.